Thinking about buying a home in Georgia? Before you fall in love with that perfect house, there are some hidden costs that many buyers don't plan for. Let's talk about that. Whether this is your first home in Georgia, or it's been a while since you've bought a home, you might be surprised by the extra expenses involved in buying in Georgia. Today, we're going to walk through several of those, and be sure to stick around to the end because I'll share how you can mitigate these costs. The first big one is closing costs. One of the biggest surprises for buyers moving into the state of Georgia is that the buyer is typically responsible for nearly all of the closing costs. On average, closing costs in Georgia range from 2 to 3% of the purchase price. That includes the closing attorney's fee, since Georgia is an attorney state and the attorney represents the buyer side. It also includes title insurance, lender fees, county recording fees. So let's say for a $400,000 home, you could be looking at an additional $8,000 to $12,000 on top of the money you're making with your down payment. Unless you're paying cash or making a large down payment, you'll likely also have a lender required appraisal. They typically run around $500. And even if it is not required, some buyers even choose to get an appraisal just for peace of mind. Another thing that catches buyers new to the state off guard is the survey. I know a lot of states require a seller to provide a buyer survey, but Georgia, being caveat emptor state where it's buyer beware, the seller does not have to do that. So if the buyer would like one, they will need to pay for their own survey. And these can be between, $500, $600 in a neighborhood to thousands if it's a piece of land. Next are the inspections. We recommend that a buyer get a general home inspection so they're not walking into a money pit. These usually cost between $400 and $600, and depending on the home, you may need additional inspections. Here in Georgia, there's a saying, it's not if you get termites, but when. So if the property doesn't already have a termite bond on it, it is a good idea to get a termite inspection. Fortunately, these usually cost $100 or so, or could even be free. Next, we have a lot of septic systems here in this area. And to properly inspect a septic tank, it will need to be pumped. That will run another $500 to $600. Another consideration is radon. Radon is a naturally occurring gas that you can't see or you can't smell, and it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. It can be trapped inside homes, especially those with a basement. A radon test usually runs about $500. If radon is a serious concern for you, I usually suggest skipping the test and going ahead and buying a radon mitigation kit that costs usually between 3 or 4 times the cost of just the inspection, and then you have the peace of mind knowing that you've got the equipment that's pulling that out of your air. If you are taking a loan and you're making a down payment of less than 20%, the lender will most likely require you to set up an escrow account at closing. That means you'll pay for a whole year of homeowner's insurance up front, as well as a few months of property tax. Now, how can you avoid all these expenses? Well, there's no real way to avoid the expenses, but in Georgia, we have a way to have the seller share in those expenses. In our contract, we have our purchase price, and then we have seller contributions to closing. That is a negotiable amount. Just keep in mind that for every dollar you ask in closing costs, you're essentially taking $1 off of your purchase price offer. I know this sounds all overwhelming, but working with a good local agent can help you get a detailed plan, understand those costs, as well as strategically negotiating, getting the seller to help offset some of those costs. If you happen to be planning on moving to Fayette, Coweta counties, or anywhere else in the South or Western Metro Atlanta area, feel free to give us a call. We would love to help you understand those costs and be strategic about getting you into that dream home. I hope this was helpful. And if you like content such as this, we ask that you please consider subscribing and watch this next video. And until next time, bye.